you love everything football, you've come to the right place. Welcome to Beyond the Touchline, a Football Manager Central podcast with your hosts, Paul, Ryan, and Colin.
Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. I hope you're well. We are here 14th of February 2016, ready for another great episode of Beyond the Touchline. There's myself, Paul, and this evening we have Ryan and Colin. Good evening, Ryan.
Good evening.
Did you have a nice Valentine's Day?
I've been sat watching Friends for most of the day. I've been called on to do this show unexpectedly on a Sunday.
Oh, it's hard life, isn't it? Sitting watching Friends. Was I reminiscent of the fact that you are single? Did you not get my e-card?
No, I didn't.
It's because I didn't send one.
You useless. Make me happy.
Good evening, Colin.
How's it going?
It's going well. How was your day with your wife?
Quiet, which is okay.
Yeah, fantastic. I had cake. Lots and lots of cake.
Sounds not bad.
It was good. But let's talk some football, shall we?
Absolutely.
So we've got some topics down for today, and I think it's only fitting that one of the topics we start with is a window in the world which is still open, which is the Chinese Super League and Chinese football in general, who they appear to have finally found the pin code to the cash machine. Because they are going crazy. They obviously have been told that the cash machine runs out in a week. So the plan is basically spend in case they can't get access again, Colin.
Yeah, it does seem that it does seem that they're breaking the bank. Although, I think if anybody follows China, or at least has followed anything with China, in the last few years, there's a huge push from the government to elevate the game in China so that they can be more competitive on the international stage, which I understand, right? A lot of countries have that. It's a big push in the U.S. It's always a big push, in a lot of the European nations. In Africa, it's been a big deal. So what seems to be going on is they seem to have a huge incentivization for the businesses that sponsor the clubs to go out and get marquee signings for, I think they're allowed 4 foreign players, if I remember correctly. But they seem to be out on just marquee signing after marquee signing of in-form, in-prime European players coming to China to help, sort of teach and train and elevate the game of the Chinese players that they're going with. So it's been insane this window.
I think, we're just going to quickly go through a few, so just bear with me for a couple of minutes. We go down the teams. What I will say is there's been a lot of talk of players from Corinthians going over there, and it does seem that they got a little bit excited when they started viewing Corinthians and seemed to take a lot of the squad. So you've got, I'm basically just going to name the players who most people would have heard of. So Renato Augusto has gone from Corinthians to Beijing. Then you scroll your way down, you've got Gunzao. Yes, I'm going to butcher most of them. The club who Robinho played for, but he has actually gone back to Brazil to Athletic Mineiro. But we'll come to the departures more in a second. Jackson Martinez went into them, Ryan. That's obviously the biggest deal of the window, possibly in terms of most famous, but we are obviously very close with some other players.
Yeah, massive player that's linked. He was linked to Premier League, linked to go somewhere else in Spain. He's ended up in China.
Then you've got you go down to Hebei China Fortune, which it does just sound like a Chinese restaurant, but apparently it's a football team. Who knew? And they've signed the young French wonderkid, young former French wonderkid, who Chelsea obviously tipped as a big star because they decided to break the law when signing Gael Kakuta. So he's made it now. He's in China. Stefan Mbia from Trabzonspor, Gervinho from AS Roma, which shocked you, Colin.
Yeah, I'm actually a bit surprised. I knew he had been sort of steadily falling out of favor and form with Roma, but I still think, he was an Arsenal product, right? If I remember correctly.
He was at Arsenal, yeah.
Yeah, he was with Arsenal. But I'm actually surprised. I mean, to me, this feels a little like waving a white flag to me from a player of that level moving there.
Well, I mean, if we're going to go on that, we'll go to the next club who's made some signings, which is Jiangsu Suning, which I have no idea. They are the club which signed Ramirez from Chelsea and Joe, the former Man City striker from Al Shabab. You can't make these names up. And then the next signing to go to that club was Alex Tezeria, the one who was linked with Liverpool from Shakhtar Donetsk. That was, I think, the biggest deal of the window. And that, I mean, I've go on, Colin. I have no idea what's going on with that deal.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I'm a bit baffled by that one. So, the guy is linked with high dollar moves, most likely in the summer transfer window, to Premier League clubs, right? Liverpool wasn't the only one that was after him, and he just sort of. I'm sort of floored, right? I mean, in reality, what the caliber of the game over there is going to be nowhere near. Okay, fine. So he was at Shakhtar, which dominates generally dominates the European League. Or the Ukrainian league rather, and they're in European football. They're clearly competitive. I mean, people hate going to play there. They do turn over some big clubs on their home turf, and he had an opportunity to move to a bigger arena where he could push himself and potentially start getting into the Brazilian national picture. I can't imagine he's gonna push on at all from China. I mean, to be fair, if I'm running the Brazilian national team, I would just sort of take him out of my Rolodex out there.
It's just a strange deal, and I mean we go through this some more. Going to Shanghai Greenland Shenu, they signed Freddie Guarin from Inter Milan. That's a just confusing deal. Then we go down a deal that stood out to me just because he was a player I used to enjoy signing Football Manager to Tianji Teda. Freddie Montero, the young Colombian who was at Seattle, Colin.
Yeah, interesting enough nonetheless. I think the other one, speaking of Seattle, there's a lot of news rumbling around in MLS talk today that Shanghai Greenland Shenhua has apparently signed Obafemi Martins from the Seattle Sounders. ESPN here in the States is reporting it, and it hadn't been confirmed yet, but MLS is always sort of notoriously quiet about those sort of things. But apparently he is close to a move out there, which is a bit shocking.
I mean, I'm just going to drop down to the second level now of Chinese football. And I mean, Luis Fabiano from Sao Paulo, Jadson from Corinthians, Otterson, who's the Icelandic centre-back, who's a really good centre-back. He's now playing in the second tier. It's just strange. I genuinely don't know how to explain. I mean, I hope people listening understand how baffled we are by this, to the extent where we kind of going through the deals and just going, yeah, I don't quite understand why that guy's actually gone there. It just makes no sense.
Yeah, verklempt is about the best to describe it that I can think of. This is it's so strange to me. I mean, okay, fine. I understand that these clubs are going to pay these guys effectively anything they want to come here because they feel like it's going to put people in the seats or help elevate the play. But I mean, how much impact can 3 or 4 guys really have on the squad unless one, the squad is just that bad, or B, I can't imagine they can just clone themselves into other guys' bodies. But I'm just sort of dumbfounded. I mean, the argument, to me, this is effectively the same argument that a lot of teams and people have put up to we don't want to go to MLS. It's a lower league. We're not going to challenge ourselves. We're not going to get any. We're not going to really get anything out of it. Why would I go in, in my prime? I'm not going to be able to get to, an international level. And effectively, this is exactly the same argument. The only difference is that China said, you know what, fine, I'm just going to throw obscene amounts of money at you and see if that changes your mind. And apparently the answer to that is a giant resounding yes.
Well, I know Ryan's just linked in the notes, and that was something actually I was reading the other day, but it doesn't answer why. What Ryan's basically saying is the Chinese president, Xi Jinping, he publicised his love of football, and once he became president in 2014, he declared that it would become the world's biggest sport. China would become the world's biggest sporting economy by 2025, and it's meant that inevitably they wanted to see leading players go to the Chinese Super League. China wants to host and ultimately win the World Cup. Fair play to them, they have a big goal, but this doesn't mean all these players have basically had a meeting and they've said, oh, well, the president loves football. So the players have gone, oh, well, screw, we'll come over then. You can guarantee they've literally walked in with a checkbook, with the person's name, and just went, there you go, just write what you want. Surely it's the only explanation. What I would say is one player who has left, and this is one I wanted to speak to you about, Colin, just with you being closer to Brazil. It's dreadful.
I mean, in a technical sense, I suppose so.
It's dreadful. It's like you coming to me for something on Northern African football, just because I'm slightly closer. Basically, Robinho's gone back to Brazil now. Before the 2014 World Cup, they were testing Robinho in like a false nine position, and he did really well. Unfortunately, Scolari left him out of the squad.
Right.
At the time of selection. Now, obviously, Scolari's now the manager of the club in China, so it kind of makes sense how Robinho's been moved on and didn't really play much. So I wanted to ask, there's a lot of people saying that Robinho going Athletic Mineiro, they've got an Argentine striker there who's decent, they're going to link up well. Can he still do it at the age of 32?
I don't think the age is. I mean, to me, okay, fine. You're going to China at 32. Yeah, that's not that big a deal.
Brazil.
Or I'm sorry, Brazil. No, I don't think it's that big a deal. Sorry, my brain totally farted there for a second. I think if you look at some of it, and I've been exposed this year probably for the first time to at least cup level, and there's been some on there. I think the overall competitive level isn't all that high. You can clearly tell that there's money in some places and not in others. So I think, yeah, he could get over there. I think he could do it. Is he going to do it for like another 4 or 5 years? No, not by a long shot. I would say, yeah, I see 2 tops in him, to play at sort of a reasonable level. Not a whole lot more than that if I had to put a timetable on it.
Now, I know they're talking about now there's a lot of corruption being fixed in the South America. The money they're going to get in the group stages and for matches played is basically doubling this year. So the clubs are being able to hold on to not the first level of players, but kind of like that second level of Brazilian talent which might have gone to Europe in the past. Can you see South American football progressing now that this has happened and that the kind of finances are kind of going back to the clubs how it should have done in the past?
I'm not 100% sure. I think sort of the trickle down economics philosophy in football hasn't worked. I think if you look at a lot of European leagues, you can kind of see the same thing. I think there was great hope in Spain that the league coming up, it broadens a little bit. You get the Valencias, the Sevillas into the Europa League and deeper into the Champions League when they start, so that they're picking up more money out of the gate. And then you would expect to see the club develop, and then they become more competitive, and everybody gets to challenge more. You get better TV deals, the money gets better, right? Yada yada yada, and the whole thing rolls on. And I think none of that's really materialized. Will the game elevate? Yes and no. I think they're still going to struggle with that. Yeah, I think. Let's face it, right? If you're going to go and test yourself day in and day out, in sort of the best leagues in the world, you're gonna go to Europe. You're gonna want to go to Europe, and these kids are gonna want to go and play, at the Barcelonas, the Real Madrids, the Arsenals, the Chelseas, the Man U's. So I think if you get into a situation where, yeah, okay, the money's probably a little bit better, but I'm not sure the average competition level is going to go up. So I'm not convinced you're going to see anything wildly different than you're seeing right now.
I know. What's the youngster Santos? Is it Barbosa? He's just hit 49 goals for Santos. Is it going to look like players like that are going to still be moving on? Are we expecting that to happen? And they're not going to be able to hold on to them kind of talents much longer?
No, I wouldn't think so. I would expect that those kind of guys will all sort of buzz out.
Now, are you ready? Before we move on to the next topic, I want to surprise people with some interesting football facts. Are you ready, Ryan?
Always ready for facts. Come on.
The first goalkeeper to save a Eusebio penalty was Felix Mourinho. Do you know who his son is? Brilliant. Jose Mourinho.
Jose.
Fact. Okay, moving on. Dreadful. Let's talk about something we actually know about now. Now Ryan's put down Aston Villa and talked about basically a misery that needs to come to the end. And also, Ryan, you've put there about the fans were furious with Lescott posting a picture of his car after the game on Twitter. Now, if you think that was bad, you should see what he's done since then on Twitter.
Yeah, I have seen, there's a lot of things going around about what he's supposedly posted or has posted and then deleted afterwards. The post, if the one has been deleted, if he has actually posted that, it's very, very big-headed. Something allowing to, no matter about the hate, I can go home and count my money and live a happy life. It's very, very arrogant of a footballer who's on supposedly 50 grand a week.
I think it's insane that one, Aston Villa is so bad this year, and two, that they have the cheek to post stupid things. Somebody's surely keeping an eye on it and making sure their players don't post such stupid things, Colin. Aston Villa go down 6-0 to a Liverpool side who finally had the front line available, finally had the full power that they wanted, the full squad they wanted to put out in terms of the attacking side. Is this what we should expect for the rest of the season from Liverpool?
No. To be totally fair, we could have gone out and potentially put a couple past Aston Villa. They were god awful. I don't really know I don't know how else to describe it. Villa were just unbearable. That being said, it was nice to see. It was nice to see Liverpool sort of wake up, but I don't think this is definitely not a game where I think you can go stand out there and say, oh yeah, this is definitely a test, and we saw some real future, greatness here from Liverpool. This was really no more than a scrimmage at best. Villa were just awful, and for the guys that are over on social media bragging about how fantastic it is that they can go get their asses handed to them and go home and count those sweet checks, wait for 2 years into the championship when the balloon payments from the Premier League are gone and your salaries are getting cut and you're stuck because no one wants you because you were part of one of the most dismal teams in Premier League history. How good life is when you're when your sweet car gets repossessed, that sort of problem.
I think when you sit back and look at Aston Villa, In the 80s, they won the European Cup. In the 90s, they were challenging for the title. The early 2000s, they were up there. When Martin O'Neill was manager, they were coming in just outside the Champions League spot. You've got to just wonder what's going wrong. And I think the first thing is, why is the chairman not pumping in the money to try to save them? Yes, they reinvested some of the money, but the money was reinvested in decent players, but not Premier League players, not players who had any Premier League experience, not players who had any amazing talent. I just think it was invested wrongly, and I mean, how many of them are going to stay when Aston Villa get relegated, which is going to happen? I mean,
it's a foregone conclusion at this point.
I mean, can you see many hanging around? Can you see it being... I mean, at the minute, there's a lot of foreign players in the squad. I mean, I genuinely don't know what's going to happen if they go down in terms of who's going to stay. Could they end up going down again?
I think it's reasonable, right? I mean, we've seen a lot of teams go into the championship and struggle, right? Look at Fulham, Wigan, those kind of guys. Is once you get down there and the money from the Premier League dries up, it becomes incredibly difficult to get out of it. So it's kind of a one-shot deal to get out of the championship and back into the Premier League. Now, that being said, if a lot of these guys have, I forget where I was watching that they were talking about the fact that most of the guys in Villa don't have relegation release clauses in it, or it's not very widespread that the salaries in that will reduce if they get relegated, which to me is an absolute recipe for disaster. Is if they get down there, they're going to have to put a fire sale up to get rid of these guys. They're all going to want to go, which to me says, yeah, you could be looking at a Wigan-like affair, where you could be down, you could be in League One before you knew what the hell hit you, and that's sad to me. I think the other one I heard this morning was the last time Villa got beat this bad was just after the season after they were crowned European champions. So it was like 1983, I think it was, that they got beat this bad again, which to me is really, it's really a sign of how just brutally far they have fallen.
Well, I think when we go through the team line from today, you've got Bunn in goal, who is not a Premier League standard goalkeeper. You've got Micah Richards, Okora. Okora is a great defender. Is he Premier League standard? I think he's getting shown up this year that maybe he should be going back to somewhere like Copenhagen and settling for top of his National League type thing. You've got Lescott, who, let's be honest, is just past it. And Sissoko didn't look good at Liverpool on loan, let alone actually ending up with a move to the Premier League. You've got Bacunia, who's decent on the wing. You've got Westwood, who is a good championship player. You've got Guy Gay in the middle alongside him, who I've not seen enough of, along with Veretout. You've got Gill up top, who looks decent, but he's one of them players who you can't really carry at this level. He's when you're guaranteed to finish 10th, he's one of them players who might get you the odd victory on his own. Then you've got Gabriel Bonglahor, who, let's be honest, he gives us all hope. I mean, Ryan, when we go through that squad, I mean, do you see how many from there? What are we looking at? Are we looking at Bunn, at Bonglahor, Westwood, and Richardson Lescott maybe staying?
I can't even see Westwood staying because I think he's lower Premier League standard. We got Okore. I think he's Premier League standard again. Like, he could end up going away from the English league because he's good enough to be playing higher than Championship. Like I said, he's a brilliant player, but there's a few of those that will just Aston Villa go down to Championship and they go, nope, don't want to play, and they'll end up getting sold.
I mean, we go on to the other side of things. The Liverpool team from today, we mentioned obviously the front six. You've got, for example, Milner and Henderson sitting in that holding role. Or maybe Milner further up with Emre Can sitting in the hole. Then you've got Coutinho, Sturridge and Firmino. That's a decent, skillful, creative team there. Emre Can I totally rate. I think he's a fantastic player. Henderson as well. And Milner, you know where you're going to get. You're going to get someone who puts a shift in. But I can't help but laugh when you look at the squad and you see Kolo Touré stood in the centre back.
He scored today.
Yeah, not only is he there, he scored.
And what's even more of a surprise, Mignolet kept a clean sheet. I bet he left the pitch thinking,
it's not that hard.
Yeah, but don't forget, they had Gabby up front.
Yeah.
I know he scored though last week, so he's not going to score again for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he's done.
I'm looking at the Premier League table now, and as a Newcastle fan, you know, I am a little scared. And the reason behind is Villa is on 16 points, they're gone. You have Sunderland 23 points, minus 18 goal difference. You have Newcastle 24 points with a minus 22 goal difference. Norwich 24 points with a minus 20. So them three teams, we've got the worst goal difference. Then there's a 3-point jump up to Swansea, who basically have an extra point because they've got minus 10 goal difference. We have a minus 12 worse goal difference than Swansea. So we basically 4 points behind them. Then you've got Bournemouth, who also have a minus 14, so 8 goal difference better than us as well. They're 4 points ahead of us, so basically 5. It would take a couple of results to switch around for us to get ahead of them. It's becoming a bit of a worry, Colin. We basically need Sunderland and Norwich both to slip up, because it's basically a battle between us four now.
Yeah, that was an awful affair. I made it 20 minutes into the game, and as soon as the commentators had described it as the worst 20 minutes in Premier League history, I sort of said, I can't even sit here and deal with it. Norwich beating Manchester United wasn't a good sign either.
Sunderland.
Sunderland beating Manchester United. That's the kind of game that, from a scary perspective, right, is a huge confidence builder with a team, right? You go out and knock off a big club at a point in time where you need just a tremendous amount of confidence to come into that team to make guys believe that survival is real. That's a brutal, sort of thing to have happen. Norwich, I'm more and more convinced that I'm not sure that they're going to be able to hold in for the long haul. There's lots of little things that they're doing that are starting to slip up, which make me feel a little better that they're going to keep slipping up. I think giving away 2 goals after just absolutely dominating a West Ham United team like that to get out with nothing more than a draw is the kind of thing that we'll see. Those kind of mistakes, I think, are the kind of thing that'll see them kind of blow it and go down. I think there are other teams in there that offer some additional hope. I think Bournemouth is still in the conversation, albeit in and out of it, but I think they're still there. The other team that I would keep my eye on would be Swansea. I think Swansea are in a bit of a free fall. Clearly, the Gary Monk move getting rid of him hasn't generated the kick on that they would have hoped for at all. So I think that they're in this conversation pretty heavily. So there's a bunch of teams that are in there, and it gives me a little hope that we won't have to go and enjoy winning the championship to hopefully get back quickly. So, fingers crossed. But yeah, I think the Sunderland game was scary because that's a confidence building game to me.
Well, I think there's one thing which has to be brought up about the Premier League weekend before anything else. And it's kind of basically the recent past in the Premier League now. It is fantastic to see that Alan Pardew's motivational speeches have basically dried up. As we predicted, as we said, I've said it many times, Newcastle fans have said it many times, he started brightly at Crystal Palace, but after a while, the same old boring shit from a useless waste of space manager would soon dry up, and they would plummet like a rock. And what is happening? They are plummeting like a rock. And there is no greater sight to see. So yeah, unlucky Crystal Palace fans, but your manager's a knob, and you're going down next season. Ha!
Yeah.
It's so great to see, because all Newcastle fans got told were, no, you're just deluded, you've got rid of a good manager. And everybody was saying his motivational speeches will dry up. And everyone kept saying, no, he's in a good place now, they're going to do really well. Yeah, well, you've not won in 6 or 7, you've scored like 2 goals.
And I think, to some degree or another, something very similar happened with Newcastle, right? You got into this space of, McLaren was doing it, if we all hold hands and we all feel good, to some degree or another.
That's what Ryan's laughing at.
That motivational thing is good if, you're in the bookstore looking for a self-help book because you can't figure out how to feel happy, right, every once in a while in the morning. It's not going to produce a championship caliber team. It's not going to produce a winning Premier League soccer team. You have a real organization with personalities and players and ups and downs, and walking around patting everybody on the back periodically going, you're a really great guy, isn't going to get you through it. There are realities you have to face. There's real leadership and decision making and strategy and thinking and evaluating and planning that you have to go through, and kind of walking around making everybody feel good about themselves, they ain't gonna do it.
Yep. Poor Pardew. I kind of feel a little bit bad. Actually, no, I don't. Ryan, are you ready for the next fact before the next topic?
No, totally.
Are you ready? Are you prepared?
I'm prepared.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Cristiano Ronaldo are the only 2 players to have scored in every minute of a 90-minute match. Fact.
Interesting fact.
Really?
Yeah, thank you very much. I am the fact man this evening. Okay, so the next topic, Ryan, you wanted to talk about this was, yes, because we're going to go back to the Premier League to end. So, Paris Saint-Germain right back, Sergi Aurier, has been suspended indefinitely, Ryan.
Yeah, so I think this one, it could be touted as another troublemaker that's appearing in footballing terms. He's been suspended for apparently using homophobic language towards the PSG manager Laurent Blanc, Man United legend, but he's also done something in the past on social media for calling potentially one of the players that's lighting up the French league, Angel Di Maria, a clown. So another player that's coming out as a clown himself, and he's took the brunt force of it and is now suspended indefinitely, like you said. So I don't know how this is going to be solved, but something that clearly, Colin said that they need to take a man back and hit him over the head with a shovel. I may not take that action because could have some lawsuit on your hand there, but
also you don't have a garden, so you won't have a shovel.
I have a shovel.
Oh, okay.
I just don't use it.
Oh, there we go.
So something needs to be done clearly about this player. What, I don't know, because he's old enough and should know better.
I think just some players have a bit of an attitude problem. They should really be banned from social media. On a lighter note, Ryan, Gary Neville picked up his first victory, beating Espanyol 2-1, coming back 70th and 75th minute goals.
No, it is about time, but as modest as Gary Neville is, he's come out. He hasn't come out all happy and wine-raising everything. He's come out and said he's not really bothered. He knew the result was going to come eventually. He just wants to crack on.
I know he did say they've been playing really well in training. I think it just hasn't come across in the games yet. Now the next topic was going to be Michel Platini, but I don't want to waste my time talking about clubs like that. Platini and Mr. Sepp Blatter can just go and rot in a hole somewhere. The next topic, we're going to stick with you, Ryan, because it's based in the Football League. Leeds United say they want to see the Football League's TV contract with Sky.
Yeah, so I think this is more a dispute with the Leeds have been on TV quite a lot this season, and they've had a couple of games that have had to be moved, and who I can't remember his name, the idiot who runs Leeds, the Italian, very good owner, has wanted to ask to see the contract to see why and how many games should be publicised or put on TV in the Championship. It's interesting to see. The board members have said they agree that Championship should be shown and there should be disparity across the board, but apparently they're not happy being on TV.
Oh no, hard life.
I know.
Before the next topic, Colin, are you ready for the fact?
Let's go.
In the last 10 years, Porto have earned a reported €856 million from players sold.
I want to tell you I'm surprised by that, but given the factory that they are, no, I'm not shocked.
I saved the best fact till last.
Okay.
So the next topic is just a small one. Another one Ryan wanted to chuck in there is he's on fire this evening. Former Man United and England player Andy Cole, and also Ryan, former Newcastle player. Come on.
Yes, okay.
He wants to go back to like things were and going for a run and playing football after kidney failure.
Yeah, I mean, I read he had an interview on Football Focus, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, where he'd not long just come out that he had kidney failure after going to Thailand with Man United youth, and he come down with some illness, and like a typical man, this is his words, not mine, like a typical man, he wouldn't go to the doctors, but his wife said, you need to go to the doctors, and the doctors found out that he was diagnosed with some form of liver disease and causes liver. Livers usually run between 80 and 100%. His liver went down to running at 20%, which is a worrying thing. And he put on a load of weight where he disappeared from the public domain. Nobody saw him, but anybody that did see he was putting on weight. And he got or who ate all the pies. Andy Cole's let himself go, so on and so forth. So it's really. It was worrying to see, but he says he's getting his life back together. He says his full fitness will never be there. His liver will never work at 100% again because of this disease, and he has to watch what he eats and what he does. He will never be able to fully play football again because he was supposed to play in that charity event that David Beckham put on, but because of his illness, he couldn't do it. But things are all coming back together, and you will see him more in the public domain. And he's working with Manchester United doctors, and he's also working the Man United Youth Academy, which is a good thing to see. Man United,
yeah, that's nice.
Man United helping him out. His doctors are all there to get his health back together. It's really interesting. So if you ever get a chance, it's on BBC Sport, which Paul knows I spend a lot of my time on. The interviews are all on there. 7-minute interview, but really interesting to watch.
I shall check it out. So, the next fact, the final one, best to last. Colin, can you tell me who is Dondino?
No.
Okay, it is Pele's father.
Okay.
And did you know he scored 893 goals in 775 matches? And he once scored 5 headers in one match.
Jesus.
That's right. Just when you think Pele is good, it turns out his father was half decent as well.
Yeah, there's an understatement.
What a family. So, let's move on to the final topic, and I'm going to enjoy this. Basically, we're going to discuss how it's always nice when you see a club who's it's not Ryan before people start pointing fingers, but a certain friend of mine spends most of his weeks posting abuse about Newcastle. And strange enough, he was quite quiet, Ryan, after the Manchester United Sunderland game. So, your question is, can Man United qualify for the Champions League? Well, of course you can't. You already deluded to even put that question in. Sorry, Ryan, but you're crap. I'd be surprised if you finish 5th. I mean, give us your opinion as a Man United fan, because I genuinely think you're going down, not up, in terms of positional finish.
So yeah, the Sunderland game was not the best of watches, if anything's going to come out of that. But we were putting a run of form together. I thought, Sunderland aren't doing very well. Should be an easy game. But then it's come out and the typical way of Man United this season. We get a run of form together, and then suddenly everything collapses around us. We have, I mean, this is not an excuse, but Matteo Darmian going off. He's not had the best season, but he's better than the lad that came on, Donald Love, 21 years old. Here's your debut. Man United need to get points after points after points to the end of the season, and he's come on and not had the best of games. I know Colin said that the American commentators were having a laugh at him. Is that right, Colin?
Yeah, it was. I kind of felt a little bad, but yeah, when Love was out there, it was, most of them, they spent a bunch of time trying to figure out who he was, and yeah, it was why he was out there and what the heck could have possibly have happened, that they were so drained that he was the best option that they had, and it was like, ugh.
I've got to ask Ryan, whilst you were watching the game, at any point when Love made a pass, did you go, God, I love that pass?
There was a lot of things that went out.
You were thinking it, weren't you?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of things that went out on social media when, as soon as he came on, and there was a lot of puns that went out on social media all over Twitter. Some of them quite funny. It must be Love and something like that, and another one that just totally put Man United down. But it's an interesting question that was posed during the match. I don't think, and I can't think of it. I don't. You're Mr. Fact Man this evening, Paul. So maybe you can go and have a look yourself. Have Man United ever had?
Whoa, hang on.
Hey,
go and have a look. Them facts are from the top of my head, sir.
Hey, I'm not sure about that. But go and have a look about this one. Have Man United ever had a younger fullback partnership than Donald Love, who's 21 years old, and Karen Borthwick-Jackson, who's 19 years old?
Yes, they have.
Ooh.
I don't even need to look. Didn't Gary Neville and Phil Neville both debut at both fullback positions younger than that?
I don't think so. You can
I'm
have
sure
a look.
They did. I don't even need to check. I'm a fact man. I'm confident of my facts.
You're confident? I'm going to Google it.
I'm fairly confident that at one point in the very early stages they debuted at both fullback positions.
Have a look.
Just Ryan's typing away. If I'm correct, I'm literally going to stop the show just to nail it. But yeah, I mean, Colin, just to end us, because we are coming up to the end of the show. In terms of Man United. I mean, the question which gets asked a lot: should Van Gaal go? And the other question is, should Man United get rid of him? And then to end, Colin, the third question for you to answer is: where are Man United going to finish on current viewing?
I'm going to go in reverse order. So on current viewing, I believe Manchester United do not qualify for European soccer this year. I think they're going to finish outside of the top 5 and be hosed. If they get in, it will only be by dumb luck through the FA Cup as opposed to anything that they did on their own. Now, for the middle question of do they get rid of Van Gaal? I think you can make him. I think you can lame duck him. So, would I get rid of him? Bring the upheaval of a new manager in the middle of the season? Maybe not.
Season's done. They're not going to claim. They're not going to get back in Europe with the squad they've got. So you've got to ask: does it give them enough time to let another manager settle before the window?
Well, what I would wonder is something along a similar line: is does it make sense to say, okay, here's the next guy that's going to manage, let him work on the next window while Van Gaal just sort of carries the ball over the line, per se, and that way when the new guy comes in, his window he's already worked with the board, the window's already sorted, they go out and start getting players, and he has time to work with the squad to sort of bed them all in.
So you say keep Van Gaal and get the ball over the line. The question is, will he get the ball over the line?
Well, I think Europe is done for them. I don't think that they're going to get anywhere in that. Are they going to stumble down low enough to get embroiled in a relegation battle or something like that? No, I don't think so.
No.
But I think Europe is done. So I think if they all just sort of collectively go, yep, we're not going to succeed in Europe, let them just carry the ball over the line, get it there, and and let somebody else sort of start the prep work for next season.
Right.
And I forget what your first question was.
I can't remember.
Okay.
Ryan, did you find the information?
I can't find specific ages, but I think you might be wrong. Phil Neville made his debut in 95 and Gary Neville made his debut in 92, but then playing together, I think it might be very close. I'm going to have a look at their ages when they played together.
If anyone knows, let us know in the comments below. I'm going to leave you with a very interesting fact about today. Danny Simpson sent off. Danny Welbeck scores a winner. Danny Sturridge comes back and scores for Liverpool. Danny Rose wins Spurs a penalty. And that's the end of the show.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Beyond the Touchline, a Football Manager Central podcast with your hosts, Paul, Ryan, and Colin. We'll catch you next time.